Good afternoon, guys. It's Workin, bringing you a quick update on Bitcoin. Hope you guys are having a wonderful afternoon. We're looking at Bitcoin to the US dollar. This is the 4-hour chart on Coinbase. And last time we spoke, guys, Bitcoin was operating. Let me zoom in here so you can see a little bit better. Bitcoin was operating right in here within this descending, broadening wedge. We had discussed yesterday, guys, as Bitcoin was getting closer here to the to completing this pattern, guys. I told you that this is typically a bullish pattern here. In other words, price breaks up. But remember, we were looking at the smaller time frames here. And remember, I said we had this overall larger rising wedge here that this price was operating in. So price did end up breaking up, and this is a classic bull trap. Price broke up. I can't even speak English here. Price broke up here and took out the prior high. Why? I mean, and just took out just right above, just wicked above the prior high. Not even a body, just wicked above the prior high, and then a very strong rejection. I'm pointing that out because that is a classic bull trap. How? Because more often than not, if you're shorting the market here and you're playing the smaller time frames, you're going to place if you're shorting, you're going to place your stop loss just above the prior wick of the order structure that you happen to be trading. If you're trading the smaller time frames here, you'd place it just above the wick here, which would bring it to about 90, anywhere between $9,000 and $9,050, $9,000 and $950. That's exactly what happened. Price came up here, guys, attempting to liquidate these short positions. Very likely did liquidate these short positions, and then the bears just said, "That's it." Took out those shorts and then crashed right back down here, guys. And if we zoom back out, so this did end up breaking up out of our descending broadening wedge, but remember, we were still operating within the overall bearish rising wedge pattern here. And now yesterday I told you guys that we could possibly see, because we were seeing this bullish descending broadening wedge here, guys, I said that we could and sometimes do see a little kickover where price breaks up here, has a little bit of a throw over, and then continues to the downside. Instead of kicking up here, guys, out of the wedge, it just kicked up to the top of the wedge, and then of course continued and then had the larger breakout here from and this is that bearish breakout that you would expect from a rising wedge here, and we have now seen that. We've tested, I told you the area of support we'd be looking at here, guys, was between 8,400 and 8,150. We've now broken that support, even though the body of the candle is still within that support area, guys. We've technically broken the support here. We've wicked down below it here. Wicked down as low as, let's see, what was the low here? About 8,000, really $7,977 was the low. We'll call that 8,000. So that was the low, guys. Could this be the low? Yeah, it's possible. Is it likely? I don't think so. I think now that we've taken this out, guys, I think that we could be coming much lower. In fact, let me zoom out here on the daily. Zooming out here on the daily. I know it's up. My computer's going crazy here. All right, zooming out here on the daily, looking at this overall structure here. Let's go to the last swing low, swing high. Get right on the tick there, right at 9,090. And yeah, we can see that price is even wicked below the 236 here, guys. The 236 was sitting right at that what we thought would be support, or what we thought was possible support. You know, the bottom of which is at about 8,150, as we said. Yeah, that's sitting right around the 236, guys. It's now wicked below it. Hasn't really decisively broken below it yet, but you know, does look like. Yeah, in my opinion, it does look like that we are going to break below this here. And this ascending broadening wedge, the target of that wedge would be right around 7,400-ish, 7,400, 7,500. And we know that that range at 7,500, guys, is, I've been talking about that range for a long time now. That was the area where resistance turned into support, turned into resistance, turned back into support. So I would expect on the way back down here for us to at least get a relevant bounce off that zone, not just because it's been so relevant in the past, but also because we can see that the 382 lines up almost perfectly with the with that area of potential support, guys. So this is definitely a tradable event, in my opinion. If we do end up breaking to the downside here, guys, I would expect an opportunity for a very nice scalp trade here, right around 7,550 to 7,500, guys. I can certainly see it bouncing, probably coming back up to about 7,850-ish, 7,850, 7,900 before continuing to the downside. You know, and is this the larger 35 to 45% correction that we've been waiting for? It definitely is a obviously is a possibility, guys. But yes, I do think that you know, if that correction is going to happen, it does look to me like this would be it. I mean, all signs are, as I said yesterday, guys, it looks like we are topping out here, guys. We're seeing a lot of signs of exhaustion. You know, not only do we have this, you know, what now looks like a very relevant reversal candle here, but we are topping out right on a right at a rising wedge here, guys. Again, right where you would expect it to top out here, or the exact kind of formation you would expect to see when price is topping out, at the end of a long parabolic move like we've had, guys. And we know in the past, as we've talked about numerous times, anytime Bitcoin has gone this parabolic for this long, it's had a larger 35 to 45% correction. So where would that leave us? Where would that take us? If I look at this overall structure here, actually, let's start with the last swing low here. So if I just look at the last swing low here and go swing low, swing high, through the exact fib we just had, we can see that this 6,500, 6,550-ish, that was the last major area of resistance before price just collapsed back here back in October, early November of 2018, collapsed down to our low here at 3,150. So on the way back up, what was resistance often acts as support. I would expect that area to act as support on the way back down. That would bring us down to about 6,500 to 6,550, and coincidentally or not so coincidentally, that lines up perfectly with the golden pocket between the 618 fib level and the 65 fib level, the 65 fib level. Now the 618 sits at about 60, literally almost right at 6,500. So yeah, I would expect at the very, very least for us to get a nice bounce off of 6,500 to 6,550, guys. Maybe you can certainly, there's a lot of people that are probably watching this zone, guys, I guarantee you. And so, you may see a front run on this zone, guys, so maybe bouncing at about 6,550. But I would expect, if this isn't the bottom of the larger correction, even if it does come lower, I would expect a nice bounce off this zone, going from 6,500 at least back up to about 7,000, 7,200 before price continues to the downside, if this isn't the bottom in and of itself. And could that be the bottom? Yeah, it certainly could. If let me grab the ruler here. If assuming that we have seen the top, and this is a larger correction, if we come back down to about 6,500, that would be about a 28% correction. So that would be a very bullish correction, actually, guys. If we only corrected 28%, call it 30%, if we only corrected 30% off of this incredibly parabolic move here, guys, if that was it, yeah, that would be a very bullish sign. More than likely, though, as I said, guys, typically Bitcoin corrects 35 to 45%. If it did correct 35 to 45%, in this case, that would take us down to, let's see, a 45% correction. Yeah, I mean, a 45% correction would take us down to about 5,000, which would be the area, prior to this rising wedge formation we've seen here. That was the last major area of consolidation. We had talked about that, weeks ago, Bitcoin returning to this zone. So yeah, that's still a real possibility. If we only corrected 35%, then we'd be looking at, let's see, a 35% correction would bring us down to about the top of that zone, which would be about, maybe 5,800-ish, maybe the bottom of this low here. 5,800 was really the bottom of what acted as support all throughout 2018. So could we get a bounce off that zone? Yeah, we absolutely could. And coincidentally, or not so coincidentally, that is the 786 fib level. So if the 618 does break, I would expect a bounce off of about 5,800 to 6,000, this little area right here. Could we come down lower? Absolutely, we could. But just looking at a fib, I do think we're going to have. I think swing traders, again, assuming that we are coming lower here, and we have yet to decisively break below our area of support between 8,400 and 8,150. So again, we have not decisively, even though we've broken down below it, we have yet to decisively break down below it. Decisively, I mean a daily candle opening and closing below that level. So, assuming we do have that, assuming the 236 does get a decisive break below, I do think each one of these fib levels is going to be a fairly significant, let me see if I can speak proper English here, a fairly significant tradable event, guys. In other words, we've already had it. If you were just playing the fib here and you traded off of the 236, we're already back up to 8,250. So already, guys, the 236 was right around 8,100. So you've already, it's already come up about $150 if you were playing that. And if I wasn't on the computer here, I very likely would be taking very small scalps off each one of these zones. So yes, I do think even if Bitcoin does come down here, guys, we are going to have an opportunity to scalp at the 382, which would be about 7,500. Maybe at the 50 here. here, which would be right around 7,000. That's certainly a nice psychological. Definitely at, well, nothing is definite. I like to get definite out of my vocabulary when referring to cryptocurrency, but likely, let's say likely, a bounce off of 6,500, which again would be the 618, maybe 65 down to about 60, maybe 65.50-ish. And then, of course, if that breaks down at the 786, I would expect a very strong bounce off that zone, guys. And that would be 5,800 would be right now would be my I would be comfortable saying that this would be a decent area to look for a very strong bounce. I'd be comfortable taking in a decent sized position at 5,800 to 6,000, expecting a very solid bounce off that zone. In fact, I'd be comfortable taking a fairly strong position at 6,500, depending on market conditions, depending on how we get there. Remember, guys, I'm looking into the future. It doesn't just depend on these support levels. It also depends on how we get to these support levels. It depends on longs versus shorts. It depends on volume. You know, there's a lot of things it depends on coming down here, but just eyeballing it right now, guys, it does look to me like we're going to have a very good opportunity to play some scalp trades on the way down here. All right, let's quickly check our daily MACD, daily RSI, both showing, as I've been telling you guys, both showing bearish divergence. So this breakdown here was not unexpected, guys. Of course, this was just screaming for a correction here, has been for quite some time. Even though we are yet to be, we have not confirmed that larger breakdown just yet. It's looking like it's looking more and more probable, but we're not there yet. That being said, this is pretty severe bearish divergence on both the daily RSI and the daily MACD. Of course, we are breaking down from that rising wedge, so all things are pointing to a more significant correction here in the short term. All right, checking our moving averages. Let's see, we can see that we had a rejection right off the top of the Bollinger Band there, guys. Again, that is another sign that price is topping out here. This was a fairly decent bearish candle. Last time we had a strong rejection like this at the top of the Bollinger Band there. Again, a very strong wick like this. That was back. Let's see. Well, we started to have it back on May the 16th, and we had a 21% correction all the way down to the 21-day EMA here. We've now broken below the 8-day EMA. We're sitting right on top of the 20 simple moving average, guys, and all eyes, in my opinion, should be on the 21-day EMA here. If we have a decisive break below the 21-day EMA, not a wick, but a decisive break below the 21-day EMA here, in other words, a daily candle both opening and closing below the 21-day EMA, at that point, obviously, I mean, that's sitting right above. It's sitting at a what, 7,800 right now. So that obviously that would very likely take us down to at least that $7,500 range that we had talked about. But if we get a daily candle both opening and closing below the 21-day EMA, I think we're very likely going to continue down to at least 7,200, if not that 68 to not 68, but that 67.50 zone that we had discussed many times here in the past, guys. I don't think it holds this time, though. We tested it back here twice. I think a third time is going to break down to at least 6,500. All right, checking longs and shorts. Shorts not really showing as much of anything. Longs, little uptick, and then of course you'd expect them to start falling off here a little bit. But again, nothing too significant. Now I don't like to do technical analysis on the longs and the shorts chart. I think that's but it does look like that you can see a pattern here where we are getting squeezed here tighter and tighter. You can almost feel the traders' uncertainty here, guys. So we are getting kind of squeezed here, tighter and tighter and short. So you can almost feel that, guys. So this does look to me like we're going to get a more significant move in either direction. Either longs are going to start to stack or longs are going to start to fall off the board. Either way would be very, very telling, especially if that's followed by shorts stacking or shorts falling off the board. Remember that if you have the ratio between longs and shorts, if you get a very strong gap, if shorts start to stack, as you guys know, more than likely price is going to end up breaking to the upside. Price is going to more than likely start to rise. If shorts start to fall and longs start to stack, more than likely price is going to start to drop. All right, coming out here on the weekly. Let's see, weekly RSI still in overbought territory, starting to come back down. Of course, you'd expect that. Let's come back here to the daily MACD, of course, switching over into bearish territory. Looking at the histogram there, guys, we can see it switching over into bearish territory. And looking at the, let's just zoom out here. Looking at the MACD line is now crossed below the signal line here. Again, guys, don't want it to, I don't want to read too much into that yet. But again, looking looking rather bearish here, looking like it's going to more than likely we're starting a larger correction. Are we getting some hidden divergence there? Hang on one second. Maybe a little bit of suggesting some possible. Obviously, prices created a lower high there, and just looking at the small little microstructure, we've got a little bit of hidden hidden bullish divergence, which would suggest, a little bit of support here, guys, which would suggest, we could, it could take us a little bit of time consolidating on top of this support level before it does end up breaking down there. But, it more than likely, guys, not very significant. I don't put a whole lot of weight into that. This is looking, this is looking rather bearish. Doesn't mean it has to continue down. No, nothing has to happen in cryptocurrency, guys. Could this be a complete fake out here and then price just continues to the upside? Yeah, it could. Is it going to? I don't. I think probability is definitely on the bearish side right now. When will I say that shifts back in favor of the bulls? We'd have to come back up above 8,400 and start consolidating on top of 8,400, and then of course we'd have to take out this prior high. We take out the prior high here of 9,000. I think it was $9,090. Let's call it 9,100. We take out 9,100. Obviously, I think we're going to continue to the upside here, guys. But again, right now in the short term, guys, for the bulls to recapture anything, I think we'd have to break up above 8,400 and then start consolidating up above 8,400. In other words, not break by a wick, but consolidating above 8,400. As long as we're below 8,400 here, guys, I think probability is definitely in favor of the bears now, and I'm looking for, even though that 8,400 seems to be holding for now, we had this little bit of a break, but not a decisive break yet. But once we get that decisive break below 8,150, then again, I think we're coming down to 7,500. All right, pulling out on the weekly chart, throwing on log scale, guys. I've pointed this out in the past here, guys. It bears repeating. I just find it fascinating that this trend line here, this what was an ascending support line for so long, going back into late to mid 2015, until we had this major breakdown here below 6,000 down to that 3,150, and then on the way back up, what was support immediately starts acting as resistance right here. Again, you can see this was support again all the way through, starting from July 2015, all the way throughout our bull run here. Then we had that break, and then what was support is now acting as resistance. I just find this fascinating, guys. And on the way back up, if this is in fact that larger correction, guys, on the way back up, breaking above this trend line would be extremely significant, guys. Just kind of something to file away, in the long term. Of course, if we for some reason were able to reverse this and come back up, breaking above this trend line would be very significant in my opinion. But this is just something I want to point out, kind of a nice to know thing. One more little tool to have in the back of your mind if and when we do bottom out here, if and when this is that we do hit bottom of, if this is that larger correction, if when we do bottom out, on the way back up here, taking this out, in my opinion, would be significant. Now, obviously, this is going to continue to rise. It is a rising resistance line now. So, take that with a grain of salt. I just find it fascinating, though, how TA works, guys, and how this is respecting this trend line. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap things there, guys. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions. By the way, just want to solidify, or just want to make myself very clear, even though in the short term here, this is bearish. Overall, long term, guys, I am looking at this as I would expect this to be a nice, healthy correction. And if we just look at this from a, let me take log scale off here. If we just look at this with the naked eye here, guys, we've taken out all areas of major resistance here. And now, this is a parabolic move. You would expect a decent correction off of a parabolic move, and then you would expect price to continue to the upside here. So overall, I am still bullish, even though and I've been calling for this for the last couple weeks, telling you that we are due for that larger correction. Even if we have that one more kick up, which we did have, we are due for that larger correction here. So this is not unexpected at all, and this is in fact healthy. Things can't go up on a straight line. But so I am, even though we are going to have I think we very likely will have a temporary correction. How deep will it go? We'll have to wait and see kind of how it ends up playing out here, guys. But overall, I remain bullish. Overall, I still believe that the bottom is in. When will I change that? If I look at this overall structure here, guys, and I go swing low, swing high, we can see that the 618 lies right around this prior order structure here. And looking out on the weekly, guys, yeah, I mean, I can definitely see the 50 is right around the $6,000 range, the fib level, the 50 fib level. That's right around the $6,000 range. Yes, that would make sense that we correct into that area. You know, again, just looking with the naked eye here, guys, that was major support back here. So yeah, I can see us coming down here, bouncing off that zone. But if we, even if we break below 6,000, guys, coming down to about the 618, that would be this prior area of consolidation here, guys, and I would still be bullish until we do break this area. If we break down below this prior area of consolidation, that sits between about 5,500 and 5,150. If we break below, let's call it 5,000. If we clear, if we break, well, let's call it 51. Let's call it 5,200, guys. Really, it's about 5,200. Let's be honest. If we have a decisive break below 5,200, I'm going to start to believe that we could continue to the downside, that maybe this whole thing was just a farce. I don't think that is the case. I still think that we are, I strongly believe that the bottom is in. I strongly believe that this is the beginning of a bull market here, guys. I just believe that we may be looking at that larger correction that we have not yet had, that we've had every single time Bitcoin has gone parabolic. Okay, I've gone too long here. I'm going to go ahead and wrap things there. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, please let me know in the comment section below. As always, would appreciate an upvote if you haven't. Oh, by the way, guys, I know some people have asked. Yes, I am a verified content creator on on Brave browser. So if you guys have Brave browser, by all means, I certainly would appreciate. Some people have asked if you could tip me. Yeah, by all means, I certainly would appreciate a tip. Also, do have in the comment section, if you guys are inclined to tip, guys, do have a tip jar with some addresses. Bitcoin, EOS, Ethereum addresses. If you guys want to throw me a tip, and all tips are appreciated, guys. Whether it's a few cents to a couple dollars, anything you have is appreciated, but it's never ever required, guys. You don't ever have to worry about that. You certainly, this is right now, this is completely free content, guys. If I ever do offer anything paid, anything that's paid for, I will let you know. But one of the things that brought me up here, guys, I do have there's a scammer out there that has been taking my videos, making them private videos on YouTube, and then saying they're me, and then selling those private videos. Just know I do not have any paid content out there. So if somebody is telling you that they're me and they're offering a video for a price, I have no paid content. The only thing that I get are tips. If you guys want to tip me, I appreciate it. If you don't want to, that's fine too. But I'm never going to ask you for money in exchange for a video. That's not what I'm doing now. If I do offer paid for services in the future, I will let you know. But I'm not offering those paid for services now. The only services I have are on YouTube, or on the current YouTube channel that you see, or my Tribe, Steemit, and of course my TIMM accounts, which is where most of my which you can find all those links to my TIMM account. You'll see the Mentor Market link in my in the comment section below here, guys. But just know there is a scammer out there. He usually, he constantly changes names, and then when I find out who he is, he closes his account and then opens up a new account. So just know that this is my one and only account. I do not have any paid for services, any paid for videos. I only do tips, and those aren't even required, guys. I just mostly do this to give back to the community, but just wanted to make that clear. All right, I'm going to go wrap things there, guys. Have a great day. Take care.